Welcome to Menopause Madness. Today, I will share with you my recent experience with sungazing and what that has to do with helping um, seasonal depression symptoms, um, also known as seasonal affective disorder, and also how that relates to menopause symptoms. And as always, a little bit more on mindset because that's always at the heart of things. So let's get started. Several days ago, I was experiencing some pretty low lows. This is something that has happened in my life in the wintertime for several seasons now. And I have become aware of the correlation between melatonin, melatonin and serotonin, and how that affects both your brain health, your mood, your sleep. And so I was, and even I'll add in how it plays into negative self talk. That's an interesting correlation. So I was really struggling a few days ago with negative self talk and with um, sleeplessness. So one of the things that I have been learning a lot on lately is how the brain actually utilizes serotonin. And there's a precursor to serotonin, and I don't mean 5-HTP, which some of you may have heard of as far as a supplement. It's precursor probably isn't the correct word. It's a prerequisite, an upstream, and it's called BDFN. I forget what it stands for. It's a chemical in the brain that is related to creating neural networks. And one of the things that I've read in this book called Spark, The Revolutionary New Science of Exercise in the Brain, is how serotonin drugs like SSRIs are actually typically going to take about 3 weeks to really start taking effect. Well, having a background in social work, I know that to be true. And what they found in their research that was quite interesting is this BDFN chemical also takes about 3 weeks to really start to build up with a new habit as you are creating a new neural network, in other words. So once that increases, then also the serotonin increases. And so the question became, how do I increase both of those so that I can increase my melatonin, which will also not only help me sleep better, but is more anti-inflammatory. And that's the piece that gets into the menopause bit. One of the things that they know for sure that can increase that BDFN is exercise, and especially exercise that is going to require some type of coordination. So, sports, for example, or anything that's going to require some thinking while you're exercising, not just walking or jogging or something that's minimal thinking. So I chose to do a high intensity interval training dance video that requires lots of different types of movements. And so that was one way I was utilizing to increase that BDFN and therefore my serotonin and melatonin. I found it was not working as well as I got later into the wintertime. So towards the end of January. And realized I'm going to have to go about this differently. So I broke out my sun lamp and started gazing into my sun lamp, knowing that okay, this can help train my brain into creating more melatonin when it's time. Like, hey, here's the light early in the morning so we can reset the brain later at night. Funny story, a little side trail here. I hadn't used the sun lamp in quite some time and set it way too close to me and actually gave my forehead a sunburn. Not enough to where you can actually see it because it's still actually there, but enough to where it was tender to the touch. And I was in the shower and like, why does my forehead hurt? Oh, I sunburned it. Anyway, so as I'm posting this on Facebook about my new discovery and the things that I was doing to help improve my serotonin and melatonin, um, a friend of mine mentioned the idea of sun gazing, and I had learned of it before. But as is my nature, I'm curious about things. I like to research. So I thought, well, I'm going to look into this because this seems like a suitable potential solution. Because I very much do better with the sun, and I have realized that there's more to the sun than just vitamin D. So I read this research, and it was really explaining how to do sun gazing. And I won't get into all of that in this video. I will put the link in the comments if you want to read it for yourself. But what I took from it was basically you really only want to do it within a 30-minute window of the sunrise or the sunset, because otherwise the UV rays can be damaging to your eyes. And you are literally gazing at the sun. So I started doing that just in the last couple of days, as well as grounding at the same time. So I'm sitting watching the sun and have my bare feet on the ground. And I have already noticed a difference in both my mood and my sleep. So I'm pleased to report that. And I've mentioned how I would bring this into the menopause bit. First of all, let me say during the day that I was really struggling with both the sleep and the negative self-talk, which was of course affecting my mood, I started to make connections with understanding that my negative self-talk amps up a lot more when I am struggling with the lower serotonin levels. And I think there's several things at play there. You could get into talking about the root chakra and how there's negative self-talk that needs to be addressed. And that would be a whole nother video. But also from that same book, the Spark book I mentioned, one of the areas of the brain that is impacted by not having enough BDFN is the hippocampus. And if your hippocampus is struggling because it feels like there's no hope, basically, it will start to recycle. Like if it feels diminished of its nutrients, it will start to recycle old memories. So it just draws upon them, and you end up in this loop, like a broken record. For those of you who know that reference, or like a computer that's got a virus and it's just like swirling and you can't get anywhere. All of this also ties into menopause, and here's how. The symptoms, rather, of menopause. So, few key things to mention. First of all, negative self-talk is likely to raise your cortisol levels because your body is seeing it as an attack. Like, I'm being attacked. Your brain's like, oh, we're under attack. Okay, send out the forces. As your cortisol levels raise, other important hormones that are already adjusting to your new lower levels begin to struggle more. Also, melatonin is an extremely anti-inflammatory agent in the body. And so as you are struggling with the lower serotonin levels, which is the upstream of melatonin, then you're going to have more inflammation in the body. And again, the cortisol levels respond to inflammation in the body. So again, you're creating more of an imbalance. The way that the exercise, as I mentioned earlier, helps is it helps create more of that BDFN, which then helps with creating more of the serotonin, like what they've realized in these research studies. But what's really a key factor in there that they dance around, and I've read in other books like The Biology of Belief, is your thoughts about what's happening, your thoughts about the stress, your thoughts about I lost my thought. No pun intended. Your thoughts about the stress and your thoughts about the effectiveness of the different things that you're trying. There are some things that will help regardless, unless you just absolutely decide in your mind there's no way this is going to help. Then it won't. It's called the nocebo effect. But then your beliefs kind of trump everything. Like if you are convinced that something's going to help, then it will, even if other people are like, I mean, how could that help? That's not what science says, or whatever. Or it's just a placebo. It's just a sugar pill. How can that help? You're giving yourself permission. You're telling your body, your brain being the head of the nervous system, and your nervous system being the central organizing factor over all these specialized cells in your body, is through thoughts managing the whole system. So by sharing the thoughts that are actually for something or against something, that's what you're training your body to do. And I've recently come up with a very cool coaching technique I'm excited about that relates to the idea of reprogramming your cells in 3 weeks. I'm testing it on myself. I can already feel some differences. I'm excited about it. And the biggest part of what's involved is discipline and your thoughts. That's it. So if any of this intrigues you and sounds like something you would want to learn more about, please reach out to me. I'd love to share. You can be in my beta program if you'd like. Once I get going full swing with it, beta program pricing will end. So if this attracts you, if you are interested in, rather than just addressing symptoms with pills or creams or whatever, I would love to have you in my program. So that said, be mindful of the thoughts that you're having. Be mindful of the symptoms and how to address them, whether that be with food or sun gazing. And be mindful of the fact that your hormones are intricately connected. So what's affecting one is affecting others. And the two that I've mentioned quite a few times over these videos is insulin and cortisol. And again, beliefs trump all of it. So make it a great day. Make good choices.